welcome. Welcome to the New Hampshire Preservation Alliance's 2021 Preservation Achievement Award announcement. This is our 31st year, and we're really happy that you're joining us this evening. We feel very fortunate to have a great board and staff team at the Preservation Alliance, and here's our board chair, Nicholas Mitchell, to offer a few words of introduction to kind of help set the stage for this evening's festivities. No, Nick? We're getting over our problems at the beginning. Is Nick there to say a little something?
He just came on.
Great.
Okay, there. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Got a really bad
It's
connection.
easier in person, isn't it?
I apologize for my connection. Every year I look forward to celebrating the extraordinary efforts made across New Hampshire to preserve, revive, and protect our special places. I want to remind you that the Preservation Awards are given to people, not to buildings, not to structures. At the Alliance, we've learned that every successful save is a result of the vision, the passion, and the hard work of a core of devoted individuals who never accept a no from the powers that be, and they refuse to lose hope no matter what obstacles get in their way. We admire your work and we admire your spirit. As most of you know, the Preservation Alliance has been forced to work in new ways during the pandemic. We've provided coaching and referrals to many groups across our state and brought hundreds of new and long-time constituents like you together in dozens of diverse virtual programs. And we've invested more staff time and resources in community projects than in any other year in our 35-year history. We've also helped preserve nationally significant projects like the 1888 gas holder in Concord and other places full of potential that we hope to celebrate in future award events. We're grateful to our many partners in preservation, revival, and economic development, including the sponsors of tonight's awards program that you can see here. Finally, I want to congratulate again our winners and look forward to seeing all of you at future Alliance events. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. We're sorry not to be in person at a beautiful theater, old barn, other kinds of places we've held the awards announcement in past years, but I can tell you're in a lot of great places from your backgrounds, and it's really wonderful to be together, even though it's virtual. We have a fabulous attendance tonight. Many current and former board members of the Preservation Alliance, folks that have won leadership awards over time, like Martha Fuller Clark, Richard Candy, Pat Myers, Rob Stevenson, Lynn Monroe, and many, many, many others. Also pleased to have legislators, also too many to name, but I know Senator Ward, Kavanaugh, Perkins Courter, and representatives from around the Granite State are with us here as well. Feel free to wave or send us a chat. I think folks know in Zoom you can look at your long participants list and scroll through and feel like you're connecting with other people who are at the event. So many of you who are with us tonight have really laid the foundation, have helped shape where we've been already as a preservation movement in New Hampshire and where we're going. Tonight, we're very pleased to honor a dozen fabulous projects, initiatives, and people. We're going to be recognizing 7 rehabilitation, restoration, and revival projects, 3 initiatives that relate to education, planning, advocacy, and 2 outstanding leaders. That's all part of tonight's program. I have 2 wonderful colleagues with deep knowledge and experience in the field who will be introducing you to the winners. They're my colleagues at the Preservation Alliance, Maggie Steer, who many of you know, and one of the Preservation Alliance's board members, Ben Wilson, who's also the State Historic Preservation Officer, Director of the Division of Historical Resources here for the Granite State. Two little kind of housekeeping points to tell you a bit more about the program this evening. We're going to pause 4 times, kind of in between these presentations by Maggie and Ben, to share some quotes from some of the winners, have short dialogues with some of the winners, hopefully to share some nuggets that you all can take with you in your work after this evening. And again, just about the chat function, feel free to share your thoughts as we go. And as you sort of hear these projects unfold and learn more and more about these amazing projects and people that we're honoring here tonight. So with that, I'm going to be turning it over to Maggie to talk about our first award.
Thank you, Jennifer. Our first award goes to the Community Church of Eaton for the steeple restoration of the 1879 Little White Church. A small-scale repair turned into a successful $195,000 steeple project for the leaders of this much photographed little church set between lake and mountains in a town of 400 located south of Conway. Originally built by the Free Will Baptist Church, the Community Church of Eaton was formed after World War II, when the number of Free Willers had dropped to 1 and a new organization bought the church for $1. Their mission is to promote spiritual, community, and educational interests. The church draws people from surrounding towns and is a significant gathering place and concert center. The church features a top quality Steinway piano, currently being restored, which will return to a newly refinished stage very soon. In a practical and innovative move, the project leaders created a team of advisors to help a local contractor, Thomas Costello, get the job done. That team included skilled timber framer Steve Fifield, general contractor Gordon Cormack, HEB engineer Jason Ross, copper roof expert Jay O'Brien, and contractor David Condulis. The 2-year fundraising and preservation effort included the steeple's removal, repair, and repositioning. The church's board shared this sentiment recently. Thank you to the community and to all the friends of the Little White Church who contributed from all over the country in the time of COVID to see the steeple rise again and to hear the bell ring at Christmas lifted us all toward hope, inspiring our ongoing commitment to preservation and meaningful outreach. Ben?
Our next award goes to the town of Franconia for the restoration of the Willow and Elmwood cemetery gates. The project showcases a high level of commitment to an often neglected, replaced, or even removed feature of our cultural landscape, metal cemetery fences and gates. These types of ironwork component fences, available through catalogs, were popular replacements for deteriorated wood fencing around the turn of the 20th century. Despite their inexpensive original cost, they are difficult to maintain and thus are highly vulnerable elements of our cemeteries and community properties. Preserving them helps tell the story of the evolution of cemetery design and ornamentation. The blacksmith and iron restoration experts at Standfast Works Forge provided high-quality problem-solving and repair for the 2 deteriorated and vulnerable gates as part of the stewarding of the town's 2 public burial grounds. This recent initiative also showcases cooperation between the town of Franconia, population 1,100, and the Charitable Trust Unit of the New Hampshire Department of Justice. The Franconia team included the cemetery trustees and sexton, the trustees of trust funds, the road rehabilitation crew, and the Department of Public Works. Being highly visible from a busy road, the refurbished gates at both cemeteries are freshly admired by townspeople, especially the gates at Elmwood Cemetery, which is on a popular walking route.
We're recognizing the Francestown Improvement and Historical Society for the rescue and revival of the historic Long Store building. This award recognizes the robust effort of Francestown's Improvement and Historical Society to revive an important village resource, the second oldest continuously operating general store in the state before it closed in 2017. The legacy of mixed uses at the 1814 structure includes 2 banks, the post office, a harness maker, a jeweler, the Mount Crotchet Engine Company #1, and Vadney's General Store. The rejuvenation of the Long Store building included stripping the interior to its historic timber frame and much needed attention to deferred maintenance. With structural and electrical work, ADA access, and much more building out to suit new uses, the structure was ready for occupancy. The society found a new shop tenant, Philip Lawrence, who opened the store on July 4th, 2020, exactly 3 years after the previous store had closed. 2 other tenants fill the building and support its operation, a financial advisor, Michael White of Ameriprise, and wildlife artist Rosemary Conroy. An angel investor helped the society acquire the building, and community members pitched in with volunteer time, significant financial support. There were 200 donors, and commitment to the new tenants. The society retains ownership of the building and has listed this and other Main Street buildings to the New Hampshire Register of Historic Places.
Woohoo! So those are our first trio. What a great group to start with. I was just going to pause to share some of the additional comments from representatives of these 3 winners. Maggie already shared that really beautiful sentiment from the Eaton Church Board about how the literal and figurative raising of steeple and spirits, that doing this project, especially during time of COVID, just lifted spirits and made them feel so proud of that commitment to their community. The Franconia Cemetery trustees shared a great observation about the role of this resource as a community asset. They shared, passerbys noticed the metalwork for its fully functioning movable parts and its restored beauty. Enjoyable to encounter today, the metalwork may cause people to wonder about its cultural and historic nature and ponder what life was like over 100 years ago in Franconia when the gates were first installed. And I'll close this little section with a comment from folks at the Francestown Improvement and Historical Society who rescued and revived this store. They spoke about the incredible outpouring of support that Maggie described from the community, from the first offer from Bill Smith, their angel investor, to help them acquire the building, to the over 200 donors and talented volunteers. Great to have the village store back, serving as the center of our community. So here for those 3. So we're going to shift now and talk about another 4 great preservation projects.
The next award goes to the Goddard Block Limited Partnership, New England Family Housing for Rehabilitation and Adaptive Use of the Goddard Block in Claremont. I'd like you to recognize our partners in this project that are listed on your screen. This award recognizes problem solving and teamwork by a for-profit housing developer, local officials, and various funding sources who chose to invest in a condemned 1926 downtown building. The project created 36 residential units with 27 set aside for those who meet certain income requirements, as well as 3 commercial spaces. The Goddard Block was constructed in 1926 at the height of the city's industrial prosperity, built for a local baker who was active in real estate. It was designed by Burlington, Vermont architect and described as one of the most modern in town. The Goddard family owned the building until 1965, after which it entered a long, slow period of decline due to changing patterns of retail and industry. The building's rehab was challenging due to at least 6 prior phases of alterations and lots of deferred maintenance. Despite that character-defining features in the public spaces, including the central staircase, multiple light wells, wood-floored hallways, and the frames of interior windows were all retained and restored. The inherent instability of local native soil also had to be overcome. Lateral bracing of the structural steel had to be installed on the lowest level so that the building could safely withstand a small earthquake. A 3-story rear addition that honors the building's industrial character helped meet the number of units needed for economic viability and accommodated a new staircase and elevator without impacting the original block. With the building listed on the National Register of Historic Places, federal investment tax credits were part of the $10 million cost. A community development block grant, low-income tax credits, and loans from the New Hampshire Housing Finance Authority also contributed to its success. The Goddard block is a noteworthy example of a certified rehabilitation of a highly visible building in the downtown commercial district that will help meet critical local housing needs and inspire additional downtown revitalization.
What a great project. Thank you, Ben. Our next award goes to James Putnam for the rehabilitation of the Hayward Ellis House at 91 Court Street in Keene. This impressive restoration of an 1880 hip roof, stick-style Victorian home underscores what is possible when a community-minded owner is committed to restoring an architecturally significant building to its original grandeur. Since purchasing the property in 2012, Jim Putnam and his team have collaborated with highly skilled design and historic resource professionals to restore both the building's exterior and the interior character-defining details. This is one of many significant commitments along Court Street and in Keene by Jim and his family. The building now houses the Putnam family's office and Putnam Foundation. Built as a residence, it was then used by the Red Cross during World War II, later as a synagogue, and finally a law firm. The house had undergone significant exterior changes throughout that time. When the current owners acquired it, they engaged a preservation consultant to carefully document the property's history. Their approach to restoring the building was to ensure that the visual quality, design, and materials of the restoration matched the original as closely as possible. Aluminum siding was removed to reveal well-preserved original wood siding and trim that was saved, along with double-hung windows that were all restored to be fully operational. Restoring the missing porch and balcony were the most important components of the project. Guided by historic photographs, the front facade was transformed by reconstructing the missing porch, faux balcony, and second floor gable with decorative truss, echoing that third floor gable that was still in place. An elevator housed in a rear addition, new mechanical systems, and an accessible rear entrance were all part of the project. Located in Keene's downtown historic district, this building's meticulous rehabilitation for mixed office use honors the historic character of the city and reflects a growing trend to preserve the architectural legacy of past centuries while adapting to modern needs. Bravo to the Putnams.
I am so pleased to say that our next award goes to good work for the rescue and adaptive use of the Carey Cottage at Creek Farm in Portsmouth. Carey Cottage is a premier example of Gilded Age shingle-style architecture in New Hampshire, and the only remaining intact building in the state designed by Alexander Wadsworth Longfellow Jr. It was the site of globally influential geopolitical events and recently came precipitously close to demolition for the second time in 2 decades. It was saved by an enormous outpouring of public support and philanthropic initiative. The scope of just completed work included addressing structural needs, improving the building envelope, unobtrusively incorporating new mechanical systems, and repairing windows and wood finishes. Apartments on the second floor were upgraded for continued residential uses. First floor rooms that had been converted into apartments became offices for nonprofit startups. The paneled music room was also kept intact. Portsmouth advocates played an exceptional role in educating stakeholders and the public about the property's significance and advocating for its preservation. The Forest Society, owner of the building, and many others are proud to share in this success story. It represents a win-win for preservation and for conservation of an important cultural landscape and provides an inspiring model for the future.
Next, we recognize Kimball Jenkins in Concord for the restoration of the mansion's slate roof and exterior woodwork with that long list of partners in the project. This award recognizes their thoughtful planning, superb craftsmanship, and blue ribbon communication and outreach strategies for a vibrant downtown cultural center. A cherished landmark within Concord's North Main Street Historic District, this magnificent brick and granite structure, built in 1882, has ornate woodwork, marble fireplaces, and frescoed ceilings. It is now used for art exhibitions, offices, history tours, and special events. The project rehabilitated the slate and copper roofs, dormers, and gables of the mansion. Nearly all of the original Monson slate was retained, and broken slates were replaced with reclaimed slates of the same color and quality. Copper elements, including ridge caps, valleys, and flashing that had exceeded their useful lifespan, were also replaced. Project leaders took advantage of the scaffolding that had been erected for the roof work to extend the scope of the work to repairs on the front entry porch, soffits, brackets and frieze, attic windows, drainage, and sunroom. The restoration included replication of deteriorated wood elements with appropriate materials such as eucalyptus and mahogany. The highly visible scaffolding became a backdrop for a large banner with the campaign slogan, "Preservation Works," honoring both the community benefits of preservation and the nearly $450,000 in wages paid to the construction workers during our pandemic. A cartoon dog mascot called attention to the roof, capturing the imagination of preservationists of all ages. Tours brought participants up on the scaffolding for a once-in-a-lifetime view of the roof, and social media and other innovative outreach tools were used very creatively, a successful and clever model for other nonprofit preservation projects.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear. So let's pause again and talk to some of the folks involved in these projects. I think this will work in terms of the audio. We have Kevin Lacasse from the Claremont project, Tracy Kozak from the Carey Cottage and Portsmouth project, Althea Barton from Kimball Jenkins, and Jim Putnam from Keene, I think with us right now, hopefully able to speak. I'm going to be a light touch moderator and just ask the questions of you four, just to give us a couple of words about how you think your project has made a difference in your community. And community obviously can be defined in different kind of ways, or what do you hope your project can do to inspire other similar kinds of activities? So Kevin, are you okay starting? Can you want to answer?
Sure, yes, thank you, Jennifer, and everybody at the Alliance. Happy to be here. So Claremont is undergoing a revitalization effort in all of downtown, and this building was basically a condemned building right in the center of the location of the revitalization. So by doing this project, it really was able to kick off the revitalization efforts that the city of Claremont is now continuing with. So, and then from an inspirational standpoint, To kind of play on that too, these projects are really not just standalone projects. They fit into the overall community. So as people, really care to, revise an area of a community by doing a project like this, it really sparks the initiative to get that going. So it really extends beyond just the one building alone. So
Catalytic impact. Very
yeah,
good.
absolutely.
Thank you so much for that. Yeah. Jim, I might turn to you next because your project is also having a catalytic effect. Is there just a few comments you'd like to share with us? And then I think I'll ask Tracy and then Althea to speak.
Thank you. It's an honor to be recognized. If I could change one thing about our presentation, would be to show the for sale signs and the deteriorated conditions of the buildings surrounding this building, which was for sale and deteriorated, the aluminum siding, but the house on either side and across the street. This is one block from Central Square in the last the furthest north part of the historic downtown area. And so today, and that the before would be interesting, but today would be interesting because all of those properties have changed and have been beautifully taken care of. Some restored, others just the long needed restoration. So it has had a very strong impact. And one of my dreams was that our doing this work would be inspiring to others, and it turns out was already.
Such a great example, and thank you both so much for those impressive commitments to those key properties. And yeah, that catalytic nature in the before and after really tells the story. Huh? Who did I say was next? I can't remember. Tracy.
Sure. Yes, so Carey Cottage at Creek Farm has been just an amazing project to be a small part of. It's an endeavor that's been going on, I think, as Maggie mentioned, for decades, or Ben mentioned, for decades. It has its future had been questionable for a long time, as it lacked a true purpose, and the scope of renovation needed, deferred maintenance, was daunting. It's a large building. And the great thing and most rewarding thing about this is that it truly came about to be saved like this through an effort of the community. It is a cultural icon to the community because of its role in the Japanese-Russo Peace Treaty of 1905. It was the center of the arts, the birth of the arts movement in the Seacoast, as well as a monumental piece of architecture. So for Portsmouth, the town it's in, those are all, very important ideals to the community. And without the scores of people that came out of the woodwork and donated countless hours of effort and passion to save this, really it was enormous how much people really cared about this building. And through those efforts, it came to fruition.
That's great. That's great. Well, speaking of artistic ideals and creative solutions, Althea, did you want to add something before we move on?
Sure, I'll say a quick word. I thank you to the Preservation Alliance. You do wonderful work, and congratulations to everyone who has won so far. At Kimball Jenkins, we've put in so much work into this project. I can just imagine all the work on all of these buildings and how many hours that adds up to be. It's really impressive. Our Preservation Works banner with our mascot dog, I like to think, ignited a renewed interest in preservation across the city of Concord, which extends to the gas holder, which the Alliance is working hard on, and the city stables, which we hope will be the future museum dedicated to the Concord coach. So it's been a privilege to have worked on the project, and I thank everyone who was involved.
Thank you. Some wonderful themes there. Thanks for sharing those thoughts, you four. Thank you very much. I think we'll, and I know there's a lot more to say, but why don't we move on? And next up is three projects, three initiatives that all have to do with advocacy, education, and planning. Oops, sorry. You ready?
Goes to the- Sorry, our next award goes to the City of Rochester's Virtual Historic Map Project for Education and Planning. The City of Rochester Planning and Development Department, Public Information Office, and Historic District Commission collaborated to create a photographically rich online map that dramatically increases the public's access to information on historic resources in the city. The project participants cataloged and uploaded several hundred historic photos from the Rochester Historical Society into a Google Earth map with color-coded pins to show the location of landscapes and street views, existing historic buildings, and buildings no longer standing. Historic Sanborn fire insurance maps were used to verify location accuracy. Each pin reveals an individual page with photographs of the resource arranged in chronological order and a brief description of the specific place. Excerpts from local history books are included, and when available, a statement of significance and links to the Stratford-Rockingham Regional Council architectural surveys from 1980. This map project was designed to encourage residents, visitors, teachers, and students to explore the city's rich history and encourage businesses and developers to use the photos and information as inspiration and guidance for preservation projects. It is easily accessed on the Rochester Historic District Commission's website or by using QR codes. A robust outreach plan includes media work, demonstrations, and presentations to the city, boards, and commissions, as well as Rochester, Main Street, a group of local business owners.
Great.
Thank you. And we do have a link to that in the chat if you're interested. I think all of us are wishing right now our towns had that kind of information too. I'd like to announce a wonderful award to Seacoast Reliability Project, the Historic Resources Team, for historic preservation planning, rehabilitation, and education. Again, please note the long list of partners on this complicated project. The Seacoast Reliability Project was a proposed 115 kilovolt transmission line between the Madbury and Portsmouth substations and exceeded state requirements and federally mandated compliance with the National Historic Preservation Act. The approximately 12.9-mile line is located above ground, below ground, and in some places underwater in the towns of Madbury, Durham, Newington, and the city of Portsmouth. One section of underwater cable crosses Little Bay between Durham and Newington. For the federally mandated Section 106 process, there were high-quality surveys of archaeological and historic resources that took 6 years and yielded significant results. The archaeological survey covered over 156 acres and included use of ground-penetrating radar. 2 new sites were discovered. The above-ground historic resources survey covered over 9,000 acres and contained 23 historic areas or districts, including a quarry and cemeteries, as well as 174 individual properties. A variety of mitigation measures for affected properties resulted, including the temporary relocation and full rehabilitation of the historic Little Bay underwater terminal cable house in Durham. This small brick building was moved in a single piece off its foundation to allow construction to proceed and then replaced on a new reinforced foundation and rehabilitated. Two interior interpretive displays about the historical and engineering significance of the Little Bay underwater cable terminal house historic district were produced as well and are now on display in both the Durham and Newington town offices. The only individual property with a direct adverse effect was a historic farm. As mitigation, Preservation Company wrote and produced a 52-page book about the history of farming in Newington, from its founding to the present. illustrated with numerous historic photographs and maps. The results of this extensive survey and outreach work will continue to benefit the Seacoast for years to come.
Our next award goes to the Currier Museum of Art and Save the Chandler House Group for leadership and advocacy to save the Chandler House in Manchester. Moody Currier and Byron Chandler, founders of the Amoskeag Mills, built adjoining homes on large lots along Manchester's Beach Street. After Chandler passed away, the Chandler House was sold to the Catholic Diocese to house bishops and later a convent. By 2015, the building was no longer in use and demolition was being considered to make way for a parking lot for the neighboring parish. The Preservation Alliance named the house to its 7 to Save list that fall because of its history and significance, vulnerability, community support for its preservation, and the ability of its revitalization to make a positive impact in its neighborhood and beyond. Since then, while the diocese continued to own the house, tenacious community leaders have worked hard to negotiate a new use that would prevent the threatened demolition of the house. Their efforts benefited greatly from an extremely effective grassroots preservation campaign that used varied techniques, including social media, lawn signs, rallies, and postcard writing campaign to increase public support, influence key stakeholders, and buy time. The mayor provided another critical element of support. Now, 6 years later, the Currier Museum of Art has acquired the landmark and plans to restore it for use as a museum, exhibition, and interpretive galleries, classrooms, and administrative offices. During those roller coaster years of uncertainty, the museum stayed creative, committed, and in negotiations with the diocese. The Currier has now assembled a strong team and begun planning for the Chandler House. Along with Frank Lloyd Wright's Kalil House, which they also recently acquired, the Currier's role as an exemplary steward of historic structures in Manchester continues to grow.
And you can see in that upper left photo, the outline of the Currier Museum right behind Chandler House across the street.
Very
So,
proximate.
good neighbors.
Good neighbors. So another incredible trio this year, award winners. I'm going to share something that Mike Wyatt, the public information manager from the city of Rochester, shared about their their project, excuse me. And then I just love to hear a little bit from Alan Chong, who's with the Currier Museum. And we also have Brooke Keyline-Nyman from Eversource to talk about the Seacoast Reliability Project a little bit. So first, let me share what Matt sent on the great virtual map project. We're thrilled to have the opportunity to make our history accessible to people of all ages. The virtual map encourages people to walk around our city and see the buildings and landscapes through the years, and I would add in new ways. I believe our past will inform our future, and this map could inspire development in the coming years. Certainly a great resource for all those different kinds of audiences. Brooke and Alan, you're representing very different kinds of projects, but both kind of over and above wonderful efforts. I'll ask you first, Brooke, and then to Alan, any takeaways from you that you want to share with this group tonight about kind of what you learned from it, inspired you, or you feel like is important to pass on to others?
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. So yes, as a kind of a non-traditional award winner, where historic preservation wasn't the exclusive focus of the project, we were extremely proud of the results and to receive this significant recognition. So thank you again to the Preservation Alliance and to all of our project partners. I think one of the items that might inspire others is that, ultimately this project lends some credence to the notion that, net neutral and net positive outcomes for historic resources are achievable, even for some of the large, complicated undertakings oftentimes through positive, kind of productive collaboration between regulators, stakeholders, project staff, and ultimately really talented historic preservation professionals. So thank you again to all of our project partners who helped us. And ultimately, as our colleague Lynn Monroe likes to say, you try to leave your campsite in the same condition or better than you find it. So we were really, really pleased with this project, and hopefully a lot of the communities will benefit from, a lot of the mitigation that took place as part of the project.
Yeah, yeah. And don't forget to use that great work into the future too. I think that's another really important message in all this. So thank you very much, Brooke. And Alan from the Courier Museum, you're speaking to us from the Khalil House, I understand.
Very well spotted.
Another great acquisition recently.
Another recent acquisition. We're reminded that art, architecture, preservation, history, and social need all kind of go together. And so we see this as a seamless package. We had so many great partners in saving the Chandler House. The mayor of Manchester, Joyce Craig, as you mentioned, the diocese itself, St. Anselm's College. We talked to everyone to try and put together a package. But in the end, the people who made a difference were community activists like Chris Zepp, who came up with every possible development option to save the house, and Friends of Chandler House. Katie Ferrara's here, Kate Marquis. They really pushed us over the finish line for saving the house. We tried for many years to come up with a solution, and it really wasn't easy. But I think we're now on the way to saving a very beautiful house. The interiors are fantastically preserved. They give a picture into not just Manchester, but the regional history of what the prosperous mill towns were like in the 19th century, from northern Mass to southern Maine. These mill towns really were the economic engine after the Civil War for the whole region. So we've got big plans. We're just on our way for it. We've got a lot to do, but we couldn't have done it without the community. And so this is, from our point of view, not a museum property. It's not something we own and we're going to fix up. It's something we're really going to do in collaboration with the city and the community. So thanks to my friends at the Friends of the Chandler House and to everyone who supported this effort, including the Preservation Alliance. You put us on the list before I became director of the museum, and it's made a huge difference. And we're going to look to you for more support. So stay tuned.
We'll be talking. Thank you for sharing those great comments, both of you. Wonderful. Well, onward, more to do, more to do. We're going to close our incredible group of award winners tonight by talking about two outstanding leaders. So Maggie, you have the first one.
We'd like to recognize Eugene Reed of Canaan, Vermont, and Colebrook, New Hampshire, for outstanding leadership in preservation education. The Building Construction and Restoration Carpentry program at Canaan High School, a bi-state district, is run by Eugene Reed and has provided 3 generations of high school students with hands-on training and experience restoring old buildings, both in New Hampshire and Vermont, and contributed to saving and stewarding several significant properties. Reed has brought his passion for old buildings into the curriculum of construction training that the high school offers, and has given his students unique opportunities to help restore the beauty of old homes and special places in the North Country. He sees work on old buildings, not the norm in high school trades programs, as practical training, a contribution to preserving the character of the community, and a way to develop his students' problem-solving skills. His students are on ladders, doing roofing, electrical, plumbing, and welding, and are using power equipment. Over the last 3 decades, his team of advisors and students has helped repair and rehab several different structures in the 2 states, including the Historic House Museum at the Poor Family Farm in Stewardstown, New Hampshire. Going beyond the curriculum, Reed has created an innovative old house revolving fund that enables the program to buy, fix up, and sell buildings and use the proceeds for the next purchase. They're now working on Colebrook's 1860 Judge Ripley House, a Main Street property that had been considered for demolition. Reed continues to see an increased enrollment in every class he offers, and recently extended his program to include middle school students. Beyond school and keeping up with an expanding list of certifications, Eugene is an integral part of the communities in Essex County, Vermont, and Coos County, New Hampshire. A few of his many commitments over the years include 12 years on the Canaan, Vermont School Board Select Board, nearly 20 years on his district state environmental commission, and bus driver and driver education provider. According to local observers, Eugene has adapted exceptionally well to the changing demands of teaching over the last several years. And he sees potential in every student he has, adapts to their way of learning, and earns their trust and confidence. Thank you, Eugene Reed, for your over and above commitment and creativity in changing the lives of kids, reviving special places, and inspiring others.
Hear, hear.
You're here.
Great program.
I am truly honored to present the next award to Chris Williams of Meredith for outstanding leadership in preservation planning and advocacy. Chris Williams' portfolio of preservation work across the state is filled with dozens of rescued and revived buildings. He has also made impressive contributions to strengthening civic organizations and advancing quality of life, especially in Meredith and the Squam Lakes region. Chris says his interest in how people respond to place was formed by living in 23 places in 11 states in his early years. Having a grandmother on Squam Lake and other grandparents in the southern part of the state piqued his interest in making a difference in New Hampshire. His grandfather was an antiquarian at Sturbridge Village and Mystic Seaport. And now his daughter May runs a busy historic preservation consulting firm based in the Lakes region. Chris founded his architecture firm in 1984 to provide comprehensive professional services in an efficient and environmentally appropriate manner. Over the past 50 years, his commitment to preservation, restoration, and reuse has never wavered. He was instrumental in the 11th hour saved of the Belmont Mill, carried out rehabilitation and reconstruction projects at the University of New Hampshire in Canterbury Shaker Village, and designed or renovated numerous homes overlooking Squam Lake and Lake Winnipesaukee. The Castle in the Clouds is fortunate to be receiving his attention and assistance in recent years. Chris also responded to community needs in Meredith and formed Latchkey Charities in 1994. This organization of local business owners and municipal officers is dedicated to improving quality of life in the community, and has been instrumental in creating a park, a community center, a senior housing project, and a major hotel conference center. Chris was also an early proponent and supporter of an innovative historic preservation initiative for the Squam Lake area. This highly effective planning, educational, and stewardship initiative engaged year-round and summer residents, long-timers and newcomers, in learning more about the history and evolution of their area and expanding their preservation ethic to match their long-held conservation attitudes and action. Results have included National Register nominations, campstead easements, new archives, and other important resources. Chris Williams has also been active in a variety of organizations dedicated to historic preservation and community charitable work for many years. As a member of the New Hampshire Preservation Alliance Board, he was instrumental in restructuring the organization to partner with the National Trust, and he helped bring the Main Street program to the Lakes region of New Hampshire. Chris has long been affiliated with the American Institute of Architects and is also a member of the Architect Registration Examination Committee, part of the National Council of Architectural Registration Boards, or NCARB. That committee is responsible for the design, content, and administration of national exams for architectural registration, and Chris served as their elected New Hampshire representative. He has also participated in many community design charrettes, juried architectural awards, and lectured throughout the state on topics such as historic preservation, environmentally appropriate architecture, and the role of craftsmanship in architecture. The far-reaching impacts of his work, both professional and volunteer, have inspired a strong preservation and sustainable green design ethic among the next generation too. His accomplishments, along with his enormous energy, generosity, and can-do attitude, are an inspiration for us all. And I certainly echo that.
Hear, hear. We'll be standing for all of these projects and these two great men if we were together in a theater. I just would love to let them both share a little bit, as we have done with the others. I think people in the audience are probably interested in what motivates you, Chris and Eugene, what you're proud of. And Chris, maybe I'll start with you and then go to Eugene. Also curious about sort of what you would want to say for the next generation. Chris, what feels really important to you in the work that you do? Would you like to share a little bit?
Yes, I would. I appreciate the history of my experience in growing up in all those different places. It had a huge impact on me. One of the things that I realized at a certain point in time when I was in high school was that history doesn't seem important until it gets to your grandparents' generation. When I was a kid, I was 16 years old in Colorado, and our next door neighbor ran a lumber yard. He was 96 years old. And he was talking to me one day about riding Pony Express. And it blew my mind. And it made me really stop and think about how immediate history is and how most people don't recognize it until it's at least 70 years old. And one of the things that really made me move east was history was being railroaded and destroyed out west. And I really wanted to come to New Hampshire where I felt history would make a difference and I could make a difference here more easily than I could out west. But I'm still a Westerner at heart. And I'm really proud that my daughter May is a historic preservation consultant because she's carrying on a family tradition for the 4th generation.
I love that connection. And right, your grandfather and now May, and I've told Jim Putnam before that his father was in the first group of winners from the Preservation Alliance now 31 years ago. Love this building on generations and staying committed to the cause and doing work so that the next generation is that much more ready to help the cause. So thank you for the impact you've made, Chris. And Eugene, the next generation is what you do. And thank you for that great work. Is there anything you'd like to share?
Thank you to the Preservation Alliance for the award. It's very humbling. Students like preservation. They just need the opportunity to be introduced to it. And that's my favorite part of my job. Sitting, driving a bus and hear a student behind you say that'd be a good one to do. As we drive by an old house is very rewarding to me. I would like to see them carry the torch, teach their kids, teach their parents. Their parents love HGTV. Kids don't watch HGTV. And now these kids can say, oh, Mom, I can do that, So it's very, very rewarding. And I'd like to see it more. I like bringing elementary students to the job site and have them walk around, let them see what we're doing. There's no better model for recycling than to redo an old home. You know, they're living, breathing things that have stories to tell. And it's just a great thing to do.
Hear, hear. Well, thank you also to all that you're doing, and to all the winners. And I think we should, I'm going to close with a few thank yous, but what a wonderful, hopeful note to end on about what Eugene is sharing in terms of the potential out there, the interest and excitement over this whole preservation world that we're part of. So I do just want to take a moment to thank our presenters, Maggie and Ben. We also had a fabulous award selection committee, George Bourne, Andrew Cushing, Frederick Farr, Rebecca Mitchell, another Rebecca Weeks-Moore, Megan Rupnick, and Rob Stevenson. Thank you very much to them. They had a really hard job this year. So much great preservation activity going on. A quick shout out to my colleagues. I don't think I ever introduced myself. I'm Jennifer Goodman, by the way, the director of the New Hampshire Preservation Alliance, and very fortunate to have great colleagues, Pat Myers, Beverly Thomas, Nicole Flynn, Rebecca Howland, Megan Gross, who I saw registered her 2 twins for the program this evening, who are less than a year old. So I appreciated that too as a next generation commitment. I hope I didn't forget anybody. Maggie, I already mentioned as a presenter. 2 quick announcements. Happy Preservation Month. Every month is Preservation Month, but this happens to be National Preservation Month, and there's a lot going on at the Preservation Alliance and around the state in preservation in May and in the other months. Also, second announcement, letting you in on a special thing that as an attendee of our 31st annual award ceremonies, you also have early access to a cool online auction that we're launching right now. It's live now. Check it out. It's filled with great behind the scenes tours, items that make great gifts for yourself, family, and friends. Wonderful donations by a lot of the folks in our extended family. So it opens right now. I think the link is going into the chat. So you can have some early action in it if you want. And it runs through the 28th of May. So little more housekeeping just to let you know that we'll be posting more about these great winners on our website for you to enjoy, but also to share with friends. We'll also make our commemorative program available on the website, and happy to send it to you as well. And we love giving these stories and thanking you over time. So we'll be sharing profiles of the winners, some video summaries, and hosting some local representations of the awards in the months ahead. So stay tuned for that. We'd love you to be part of that as well. I'll just close by saying congratulations again to the winners. Really tremendous projects, incredible commitments from nonprofits and businesses, and tremendous leadership from Chris Williams and Eugene Reed. It's really hard to put into words. I think in two very important and in different ways, you two have really advanced and shaped the preservation movement for us and for future generations. So thank you. Congratulations again. Thanks to everybody for participating tonight. And we'll sign off. Raise a glass of champagne to the winners.